What's going on, everyone? Happy EM stream Saturday. Admins, let me know if all the sound. Am I loud enough? What's going on? All right, I think we're ready to get going. Okay, welcome to the stream. We got a couple things going on today. I promised last stream this would be a Python only stream, and I am sticking to that. Python stream confirmed, like I said 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to start with a Engineer Man Knowledge Center update. That's the first thing I want to talk about. So if you've been in Discord anytime in the last probably 8 to 10 days, you saw this new feature where you can actually... Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, send in any questions you want, which I'm going to answer here in 5 minutes. Start sending them into the chat, and then the moderators will put them in a queue for me. So if you've been in Discord, you notice this new technology called Piston. You notice that you can send code to Felix. Felix will run that code and will return the results of whatever the code did. And I built that for a specific reason. And I told everybody that the Knowledge Center was going to have contests and challenges where you could, both hone your skills and earn points, on the platform. And that was the whole point of that product, was to allow the execution of that code without having to worry about, people destroying the server, running malicious code, and taking it down, ruining it for everybody. So I put that up. It's an open source project, and people have been just hammering on it in Discord in the Break Felix Run channel. And so far, nobody's really been able to beat it. It's pretty strong. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, what that means is we're fully tested on Piston, and I'm going to start building out the scoring system, the challenges, the contests, and all that other cool stuff for the Knowledge Center. So I would say within a week or two, you're going to be able to take part in, coding challenges in your language of choice. And if you want to know which languages, you can run Felix Run, and it'll tell you all the languages. I think right now it is, let me see here. Yeah, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, Go, C, C++, C Sharp, R, ASM, and PHP is the supported languages to start. So for all the challenges, you'll be able to pick which language you like the best, and then you can use that to accomplish the challenge of the contest. So it'll be fun. We'll have a good time. Besides that, the site's coming along great. The questions are there. Also, people keep asking, hey, when's the scoring going to work? I want you to know that all score that was accumulated, even though the score is not actually on the screen, any questions you answer, any comments you add, upvotes, so on and so forth, that's all going to be calculated when I finally put scoring live. So don't think that you're contributing without getting score. You'll get credit for all that stuff, retroactively. I think that's pretty much it for EMKC. I'm trying to... oh, that's right, video requests. So no more video requests in Discord. I'm going to be putting those into EMKC, and you'll be able to upvote the videos you want. And videos that don't get more than an upvote or two, in the first couple weeks, or maybe a week, we'll just drop off the system. So make sure you get your stuff in there. I'll move all the stuff from the Google Sheet over into EMKC, and I'll try to retain the scores that aren't duplicates. I noticed a lot of people were just voting for the same stuff every time I wipe the chat room there, and the scores don't accurately reflect what people actually want to watch. So I'm going to move that into EMKC. The other thing I'm moving into EMKC is the resources section. I'll put nice search around it. I'll tag all the resources, and the admins and mods will help me with that as well. And that's it for EMKC. So let's go into Q&A. What's your what's your opinion on PHP? I feel like I get this question every stream, and I always enjoy answering it. You know, PHP came with good intentions. You know, they built PHP because they needed an easy way to make home pages. In fact, PHP stood for personal home pages. That's what it stood for. It was literally built for home pages, not for anything else. So the problem is they decided to be backwards compatible, and over time they made a lot of version revisions for PHP, and it just kind of got messy. And nobody really refutes that. It's definitely a messy language with a lot of inconsistencies, but it does have a couple upsides. You know, I was a PHP programmer from the late 90s all the way until probably 2013. So I wrote PHP for like 13, 14 years. So I'm speaking from experience when I say everything about PHP that I do. But you know, it does have a couple upsides. The first thing is that it's installed everywhere. It's so easy to get going on PHP. You just install Apache, you install mod PHP. It makes you a folder, you know, var www.html. You throw your PHP file in that folder, and then poof, you're ready to go. So it's like, that's one of the upsides. Python relevant to present day industrial needs. Okay, I don't know what that's asking specifically, but I'm going to try to answer it on what I think it is. So Python's advent in the industry is due largely in part to it's easy to pick up, it's fast, it has a number of implementations that you can use, and it has a vast community, and it's well supported. There was a time back in the day when you had to use the fastest code with the least amount of memory. And that was C. So C uses low memory, C is very fast, but it's very difficult to work with. And there's always this trade-off. Do you want to write less code and have it run slower, or do you want to write more code and have it run faster, but it takes a greater degree of skill to write that code? And back when people were dealing with RAM, 16, 32, 64 megabytes of RAM, now there's 1,000 times that. And it's less of an issue these days. People don't have to worry about really resources anymore. CPUs get faster, RAM gets larger, everything gets cheaper, and the line between, compiled and interpreted languages starts to get blurred a little bit. There are certain situations where you just can't get around it, like when you're working on embedded systems. Those have very limited resources, so it makes sense to have to use languages like C. What are your views on JS? JavaScript is eating the world. JavaScript is everywhere. It's JavaScript is super popular, of course, because it's the only option in the browser. It doesn't mean there aren't other languages for the browser. It just means that JavaScript's the only thing that runs. They often call JavaScript the assembly language of the web, and I think that is a valid way of describing it, because there's so many different technologies that ultimately transpile to JavaScript. So just like people write C code or Go code or any other code that gets compiled into assembly, lots of people write stuff that gets compiled into JavaScript. So it's kind of the assembly language of the web. I think it's huge technology. Now that Google Chrome's V8 is up to speed with the latest standards of JavaScript, Node.js, of course, uses V8, therefore it has the latest versions of JavaScript. It's just, JavaScript's unstoppable. You're going to start seeing toasters and DVD players and cars built in JavaScript. Is everything on YouTube so angry? I don't know, is it? There's a lot of angry stuff on YouTube. Is Python your favorite language? What are the advantages and disadvantages compared to other languages that you use? Python is not my favorite language. JavaScript is my favorite language. Python is probably my second favorite language, tied right around there with C. The advantages are that it's almost English. I saw a joke the other day where some guy was writing Python and it was reading just like English. And what was funny about that was the the guy that was writing the code, it had this little caption that said, "I don't even know Python," and he was writing it, and the joke was supposed to be that it was reading just like English, and therefore it was it could be programmed by people that don't know Python. Now while that's not strictly true, it's easy to pick up. It has a lot of modules. It's well supported, and people are picking it up for some of these really high performance type things. Like a lot of the AI stuff is done in Python now, machine learning. And of course, you got TensorFlow out there. There's so much Python. I'm trying to think of a disadvantage of Python. I suppose, there's of course the Python 2, Python 3 thing. People are pretty upset. Some people are upset, that people are forcing Python 3 on people. So you got to kind of deal with that. I suppose another disadvantage would be, well, along with that, you still have modules that only support Python 2. So if you want to use the latest Python, but you want a module from Python 2, well, now you have a decision to make. You can either not use that module, or you can use a module that does kind of the same thing, or you can just use Python 2. So, Tama2, MLG Tama2. How's it going? I'm doing well, my friend. How are you? Which is the most important intermediate advanced programming concepts to know? Probably parallel programming, because I see a lot of scripts out there that can be parallelized and they don't parallelize it. And I have to just assume that's because people either don't realize they can, or they think it's harder than it is. In fact, the Python project we're doing today is going to be multiprocessed. So I think one important intermediate or advanced topic is going to be threading and multiprocessing. Okay, one more. When may we expect the next level in Python series? It's going to be a while. People voted for a Node.js Basics series, so I intend to do that first. That's what the people asked for. And once I do that, I'll probably go and do an intermediate or advanced Python series. Okay, let's code. No more of this. We'll do another QA at the end, so don't worry. Keep putting your questions if you have them, and admins will triage it. So what we are building today is a simple HTTP server in Python, except it's going to be a little twist at the end because, well, you'll see. Just wait. So let me just get all this ready. Stream segments. There we go. Okay, so we're building an HTTP server, just a simple HTTP server, like you would, go to your browser and type some URL, and then it would respond with some content. And so we're building that mechanism that takes that request and then responds with some content. And we're gonna do it at a low level too. We're gonna use TCP sockets. We're not using the HTTP library. Of course, for anybody that's any expert that's watching knows that with a single line of code you can make an HTTP server in Python, but of course there's no fun in that. So let's do it manually. So the first step is we got to create some sort of socket listener. And the socket has to listen on a particular port. And to do that, you have to create that actual socket. So I'll do like, socket.socket. I don't remember the exact text here. I'm going to just look on the internet real quick. Hold on. I can never remember the constants to supply here. There we go. So next step is to actually bind it to an address. So in this case, we're binding it to empty, which will just be, that's the equivalent of 0000. So it can be listened on, so basically any address can connect to it. One computer can connect to the server to access it. If I were to put, localhost or 127.0.0.1, it could only be accessed by the actual server that it's on. So, and this is just a tuple. You know, the first element of the tuple is the address, second one's the port. So just pick whatever, 80. So next is the actually listen to it. So once the port's listened on, then what you want to do is just, you want to do an infinite loop. And what that infinite loop does is it waits for a connection onto that TCP socket, and then it does something with it. Once it's done processing, it loops back, and then it just takes a new thing. So to do that, we do connection client address equals sock.accept. So sock.accept will block until an actual connection comes in. And once it does come in, I'll get the connection object, which I can use to send responses, read data, and some other things. Client address is going to be a tuple of who's actually connecting to the server. You can use that for logging or something like that. So we'll do something like, print client address. We got to do a little debugging here, of course, and then all right. So what I'll do now is I'll just do that. Then we'll do connection.close. Python. Oops, I need 3. So I'm running that. I also running, I want to make sure people can see all this. So I'm running this on 10.0.0.10.8080. You can see that every time I run this, it gives me these new things. This is going to be the source port and the place it's connecting from. So my computer is 10.0.0.33, and then these are the ports. So I'm getting information, no problem here. I just have to send something back to the browser now. And remember, this is TCP. This is not HTTP. HTTP is an abstraction over TCP. But what we're going to do is look at we're going to look at what an HTTP request actually looks like. And it's not hard to do. We can use this connection object to read data. So I'll do like connection.receive 1024. You would ordinarily do this in a loop, because when you're doing TCP, it will receive up to 1024 bytes of data, but if you read more than that, you got to keep calling connection.receive over and over to receive all the data. And so just in this case, oh, Bennett, thank you for the 20. I really appreciate that, man. If you have any specific questions for me, let me know. I will more than happy. I will definitely answer those for you. Let the admins know, and admins also make sure he gets the supporter role in Discord. Thanks, Bennett. Appreciate that. Send in your project too if you have one. Doing project review tomorrow. Okay, so now we have data as connection receive and connection.close. So let's run this again, except this time we'll print the data. Okay, so you can see we got a lot of information, and we can get more, let's make that look better. What we're wanting to do right now is look at the actual headers that the browser gives. For line and data.split, print line. Okay, this should give me the okay, this is what I wanted, just not long enough. Oops. I don't want all that. Come on. It's tough to read, but what we have here is all the... See, this isn't what I want. If you look closely in here, you'll see all the different headers for, you know, all the different information for the requests. You know, like get slash HTTP slash 1.1 and so on and so forth. I'm trying to get this in. Let's try that instead. Oops. That's better. That's what I wanted. Okay. So now it's all pretty. So we got line 1 here. This is the, you know, the method of the request, and then this is the path. You know, if I were to put a different path here, like put test, you know, .html. Now I get slash test.html, and I get the version. And then all these are all just headers. So host, connection, upgrade, user agent, accept, so on and so forth. And all I want to do now is I want to look at this path and I want to respond to it somehow. So of course, for web servers, if the path ends in HTML, then maybe we render it just as, you know, look at a file, take the file, and reply with something. Or if it's an image, you know, we've got to respond with an image. And then we're going to do something special. If it's a .py file, we're going to run that file and show the result. And that'll be really cool. So let's write a little bit more code and get this farther down the road here. So the next thing to do, and this is important to do, is to take every incoming request and send it over into a new process. So this is where multiprocessing comes from. So we'll do multiprocessing. We'll define a function called process. And in down here, we will, oh my God, go away. In the, not process, we'll do handle. So what we'll do now is process equals multiprocessing dot process. Target is going to be handle. Args is going to be, we'll pass it the connection and the client address. We can then start that process, and then that's pretty much it. I'll put a little piece of logging here to say accepted new connection. So just to make it real easy, in the handle we'll just reply with something. So take these arguments, throw them into here. You know, put some logging like servicing, you know, client address, and they'll just write something. So connection dot send. Just do hello. The browser might not like this. See, browsers are designed to, browsers expect the request to be in a certain way. So there's an actual anatomy to an HTTP request. So let me just pull that up on the internet here real quick. HTTP response format. So this tells you what an actual response is supposed to look like. It says that it needs to be a status line, and then it needs to be headers followed by CRLF, and then once all the headers are done, another CRLF, and then your message body. And the status line, it goes on to tell you what that looks like. It says the status line is the HTTP version, 1 space, the status code, 1 space, and the reason phrase, and the CRLF. So that would be HTTP slash 1.1 space 200 space OK, you know, for instance. And we can mimic this in the actual response. So remember, it said it needs to be HTTP version 1.1, 200, okay. CRLF, and then headers. So we'll do content type, text HTML, a CRLF, and then another CRLF, and then hello. And there should also be a content length. So content length, of course, is going to be 5. So this should be enough to get the browser to respond with something. So let's give that a shot. Hey, it worked. Look at that. So you can see here it says hello. And if we look at the actual headers, we'll see the same headers that just came up here. Ooh, that's too big. So these are the headers that just got sent in the code there. Content length 5, content type text HTML, sent to 200 OK, and then the response was just hello, 5 bytes. And see, it also requested a fave icon, and you'll see that the response is the same. That's because the server doesn't handle ICO extensions. So, but we'll get to that in a second. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, we can send information, that's really cool, but how is that useful? I mean, web servers typically serve files. So that's the next step, is to make it read from an actual file and serve that. So get that out of the way. So basically we're looking to refactor this into, well, actually there's something we missed here. So first we have to read all the data from the actual socket. So do that, do a blank string content, and then while true, we'll do, let me see here. I had a couple notes for this just for the stream. So data is going to be connection.receive. And I'm just receiving 1 byte at a time, and that's because I want to look, oh, I forgot to mention something. So because sockets is just a stream of data, how do you really know when things are done sending? And typically you know that because of the format for the request. And I know that at the very end, there's 2 CRLFs at the end, and I can take that as the conclusion of the request. So I can read 1 byte at a time, and then I can just add that to the content. So that's as simple as doing if data, concatenate the data, else, break. So what this will do is this will loop over reading 1 byte from the socket at a time. And just 1 second. Let's put my phone in airplane mode so people can't send notifications. So this will read 1 byte at a time and just concatenate it to content. It'll keep looping until there's no data, and then it will just exit from here. So at this point, I can print content and then just return, and this will give me the actual content from the request, which is kind of the same as we were doing before. Oh, I gotta decode. Whoops. Okay, decode. Let's try this again. Yep, accept a new connection. Getting all the content here again. And all is well. So I need to get this information. I really need to get this information. So that shouldn't be too hard. All I really got to do here is say, I know the path line is going to be the very first line in there. So that's as easy as doing content.split on a new line and taking the first element. If I want to get the path, I can do the path line. I can split that on a space, and I can take the second element. Because remember, it's method and then file and then version. So this gives me the second element. Oops. Okay. That gives me the second element, so I'm good there. The last thing I need is going to be the file name. So file name is going to be path.split. It's going to be the last one in the list. So now we need a MIME type, because remember, this is going to be dynamic. Obviously, everything's not going to be text/HTML. It's also going to be, image/JPEG or image/PNG or plain text or JSON or whatever. So this kind of has to be dynamic, and we can get that MIME type by simply looking at what the end path is. However, by default, we'll just say it's going to be text HTML. And then we can refactor this to accept that. So now it'll put the MIME type in there, and then it will encode that to bytes and send it on. So we're good. Good so far. So from here, it's a matter of just handling different cases. By default, we can say, if the body is empty, so the body is going to be whatever the actual body of the result is. So we can say if the body is empty, then we'll just use some default value like, I don't know, 404, for instance. We won't actually do the status or anything, but we can still do that. So now, by default, it'll just say 404, and then we have another thing to refactor here is the content length has to be the size of the body. So in this case, we can take body, do D, format, body length, and then encode that. And then the body can just be sent just right before the CRLF. So connection.send, send the body, that should be good. Oops, I keep forgetting to decode it. Oh, stop it. Oh, trouble. Okay, content length, body encode. Oh yeah, because I'm doing the hello, I can't do that. So I need to do, yeah, there we go. What do I have, a typo somewhere or what? Okay, content type. It's good. CRLF. Format. Format. The heck? Connection was reset. This is like I say every stream. Everything requires a little debugging. Nothing goes together perfect. Let's see, content length. Or why is things complaining? Okay, servicing. Sorry about this. Not really sure what's going on with it. Connection reset. Oh, it's out of range. Okay. Path not split, out of range. Huh. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. It's, yeah, remember when, I know what I'm doing wrong now. Remember I said earlier that you gotta look for the actual boundary to, for when a TCP connection is over with. Well, I didn't do that. So what I need to look here for is, I need to look at basically the last 4 characters of content, and I have to see if it's a CRLF. And if it is, then I can break out of that loop. So that will loop until, yeah, basically what was happening there was it was reading 100% of the request, but it was never breaking out of that loop. So it would just block at connection receive. That's what I was missing. So now when I run it, well, now it still doesn't work, of course. What the heck's going on here? May I receive one? Oh, I thought that was why. Let's add a little debugging here. Something to do with that. Before receive. Okay. Okay, so it's receiving everything. See, so I'm getting my last digits here. So maybe I should move this down to move that to the end instead. What on earth is going on here? Welcome to programming. Okay, so it's past that part. It's just it doesn't want to actually send the results. path line, path, file name. Oh, we got a problem here. Okay, so that's good. Get test HTML. Okay. So just trying to get the right data out of here. Okay, so that's good as well. Then we get the file name. Okay, so we're good there. MIME is text HTML encode. Content length, length of the body, good. Body encode. Oh, am I missing that middle one? Come on, don't tell me that was it. Come on, get real. Don't tell me that was it. Oh no. Okay, alright, we're back on it. See, I didn't follow my own thing. So what I was missing there is you could see the format. It's status line, general header, CRLF, general header, CRLF. What I was missing was the CRLF between the headers and the actual body. Oops. So but that goes to show you that's how picky browsers are. Browsers are expecting things to be in that exact format, and if it's not in that format, then the thing just quits. And that's exactly what happened here. So, all right, we gotta do a little catch up here now. Just blew a lot of time on that. Anyway, so we have our body. The next step is to we'll say like handle, we want to handle HTML files. So to handle HTML files, we can do if path ends with .html, then can do, with open file name as file. We'll just set the body to file.read, and then of course we need an HTML file called hello.html. We got our hello. So we're looking for files that end with HTML, and if we have it, we set the body to the contents of that file. Simple, right? And it's already text HTML, so we'll leave it at that. And then the content length, that'll get grabbed by just the size of the body. Piece of cake. Oh, no such file or directory. Of course not. It's because it's hello. So you can see when I run hello.html, I get the words hello. So what if I wanted to add an image? I have this image of a cat here. So what we're going to try to do is render that on the page as well. So if I take that image of the cat, cat.jpg, the thing is with cat.jpg is there is no handler for that. So when I refresh it, I get this broken image. And if I look over at the image request, I can see that the response, there's no response. It's just nothing. I can't do anything with it. And that's because the browser expects that I need to send the right headers, I need to send the right length, and I need to, of course it's not HTML, an image is not HTML, it needs to be an actual image. So it's not hard to do. It's basically the same way as with an HTML file, but instead we'll handle the image. So we'll handle we'll handle just JPEG. Of course you can refactor this to support all kinds of images. We're just going to do JPEG. So the only thing we have to change here is set the MIME type to image JPEG and then open as binary instead. And we'll set that as read. The only thing we have to add now is a way to, like 404 is not bytes, so we got to encode that. However, the image is already going to be bytes, so we need a way to basically either encode it if it's not already encoded, or just do nothing. And an easy way to do that is with a try except block by just doing, body equals body.encode. Then just bypass that. This will either encode the body or it'll throw an exception and just continue on. So now we've handled JPEGs. Just make sure it works here. Oh, didn't work. Hold on. Okay, but I also have to remove this now because I can't re-encode it. So now I'm just saying the body, since I'm encoding it above now. There we go. A big old cat with big old cat eyes. So that worked. We wrote a TCP server to serve an image. Pretty sweet, huh? So the final step is, none of this is dynamic. HTML, of course, is static. Images are static. What if we wanted to add some actual scripting, in here? And the way we can do that is to serve a Python file, evaluate the Python file, and then send the resulting output to the browser. So let's do that. And that happens again kind of the same way as HTML. So we'll handle Python. So if path.ends with, .py, then we're going to use, did I include OS? No. We're going to use OS popen. So we'll do body equals os.popen Python 3 string, and then we'll pass in the file name and we'll read that. Now, any experts watching, I should point out that this is wildly insecure. You should not ever do this in production. This is purely for educational purposes. This is very bad. So you would want to, do it another way. But for the purpose of the stream, it's fun to just, do something that works. The whole purpose of this project is just to initiate some additional thought, and process on this actual file. So don't don't do this. Just enjoy what's happening, but do it a better way. I don't have time to go through the the whole thing because that would just take a lot of time. So the cool thing about this now, and this is kind of like the old CGI stuff. Really, this is no different than what Apache and Nginx can do with the CGI module by just taking a script, looking at what the shebang is, and then executing it according to that shebang. So we're kind of doing the same thing here. So I'm going to create just another file called, I don't know, dynamic or code.py. Then I'll do print. We'll just do a hello, smiley face, just to check it. Okay, so we got our cat and whatnot, but if we go to code.py, hey, now we got some dynamic stuff. And just like it printed, it could also do for I in range 100, print I. And the cool thing about this is it's like a scripting language in that I don't have to restart everything because it's reading that file and evaluating it every time. So I can just code, save, refresh, code, save, refresh, code, save, refresh. And this is a way to execute Python code in a server that you wrote in Python, and that's kind of cool, I think. Okay, we're coming up towards the end. Make sure you put any additional questions you have about this project or whatever. I'm just about done with this. We're just going to do a recap, and now I'm going to answer some more questions. If you have any questions about this specifically. Now, in this case, you could do anything. You could include another file. You could open a connection to a database. You could do anything you want. Tiers, yes. I will absolutely upload this to GitHub to the Stream 3 folder on the Engineer Man YouTube code repo. Actually, I'm just going to look in the chat. Can the Pi server return IP locations or other things? Okay, that's actually a good question, Jason. Thanks for bringing that up. So normally what happens is, like when you run a Python Flask server, for instance, something that is not kind of this rudimentary TCP stuff that I'm doing, the one thing you get with Flask is Flask takes the connection object and it takes all the information about the request and it loads it into this kind of request object, and then it passes that request object through the Flask system, and then that's what gives you access to the refer, the client IP, the remote IP, the source port, desk port, all the headers, all the timestamps, the method, the everything. So it parses all that out, using a blend of the actual content coming in from the headers and the request, but also the stuff that the server knows about the user. A lot of the low-level TCP stuff. So that's how you would get the return IP, is you would look at that connection object and you would extract it from there and you would pass it in to some other processing thing. Python 2.7 or 3.6 and why? I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for stream over the past couple days, and I got a little frustrated with Python 3. So I'm going to try to answer this best I can. In general, you'll want to prefer Python 3 over Python 2, but I'm not going to go as far as to say you should always use it. I'm sure that's an unpopular opinion, probably for some people watching, but I don't think it's like you should be shunned by your peers if you choose Python 2.7. Yes, Python 2.7 is not actively maintained in a couple of years. Yes, they want to end of life it, but remember, that's just the Python committee. In the real world, there's still a lot of packages that only work on Python 2. There's still a lot of code out there that's only in Python 2, and they did not make it easy to just run your Python 2 code with Python 3. It's not like you just add a 3 at the end of the the script you're executing it with, and suddenly it works. That's simply not going to be how that works. So with that, I think all this fear, all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, I think is driven a lot by some choice people in the Python community. If you don't know either, and you don't need a ton of custom modules, and it's a brand new code base, then yeah, probably choose Python 3. I print some HTML, does the browser parse it? So the browser, the parsing aspect of what's going on happens kind of at the very end. So the browser takes all the information that the server sends, and then if there's HTML to process, it gets read by the actual browser itself. Same with CSS, and that's rendered in the In fact, you can kind of see it. There's two events here. You know, there's the, of course it's not working, but these blue and red lines, they don't want to show up for me right now. Well, actually, here it is. DOM content loaded and load. So DOM content loaded means all the content got to the browser and has been parsed and placed onto the screen. Load means all the scripts have loaded, CSS is done, all that. Page is fully loaded. Will you be doing anything with blockchains in the future? Yes, I actually have a project that is a really, really rudimentary implementation of a blockchain, but it does work. And I did it kind of as a educational type thing for, you know, people to check out and understand all the pieces that, you know, that work with blockchain. So yeah, I think I'll do some blockchain in the future. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. There any way using Python only we can have a front end that accepts inputs without using any HTML or JavaScript? No. So HTML and JavaScript is a browser thing. You can have a web service that works without inputs. You know, that'd be like an API, kind of as we know, you know, a web service style API. That would be a back end that doesn't need a front end. But if you're working in the browser, you have to have, you know, sorry, not that you have to have. If you're working on the browser, those are the inputs you have available to you. Let's see, what else here? Where'd you learn to program C# and C++? I never really learned C#. I only know the basics of C++, more of a C guy. Let's see. A couple more questions. We've got about 3 minutes. Okay, we'll just do a brief recap on what we did here. So we started by creating the socket, creating an infinite loop, and then just waiting for a new connection. As soon as a new connection occurred, started a new process with multiprocessing, sent it, you know, the target is handle, function handle, and then we gave it 2 arguments. We gave it the connection object and the client address. So now each time a connection comes in, we start by doing another infinite loop where we receive data 1 byte at a time until the content ends in 2 CRLFs, which we then know is the end of the request. We do a little bit of light parsing to get the path line, the path, and the file name. We set a default MIME type of text/HTML. And then we handle 3 types of files. HTML file, we just open that file and read it into the body. For JPEG, we open it as binary, read it into the body. And for Python, we use os.popen to basically run Python 3 against the file name and then read that into the body. By default, if nothing was provided, then we just make the body 404. We attempt to encode the body to bytes in case it wasn't already in bytes. And then we construct the actual HTTP response, you know, which is the status line, a CRLF, header with a CRLF, and then a CRLF which separates the headers from the body, and then the body, and then 2 CRLFs, and then we simply close that connection. And that's the entire script. You should show people the run Felix. Yes. Okay. So last thing. So we're done with that. The last thing I want to show you is the actual. We're gonna do a little run Felix. So if you're on the Discord, if you're not, you should get onto the Discord because Discord's sweet. So if you want to do run Felix, you can come onto Discord. You can do Felix run. And it'll give you a bunch of information, like here's the supported languages. And then if you want to run code, you can do Felix run, and then you specify the language, so we'll do Python. And then you make code blocks, And in the code blocks, you can put the code you want. So I'm just going to do hello. And then you run it, and then Felix responds with the result. So, and what this does is this makes a request from Discord to Felix. It sends it to Engineer Man Knowledge Center, which sends it over to Piston. Piston does all the processing for the code, and then it sends it back through Engineer Man Knowledge Center, down to Felix, and then back into Discord. And yeah, like it supports all kinds of stuff too. Python, JavaScript, Ruby, Go, C, C++, C#, R, ASM, PHP. And if you have suggestions for other languages, like a guy came in yesterday and he asked for ASM, and I added it. It's not hard to add these. I want this to be all-inclusive for any code that people might run. So this is a really cool feature that was made. And it also lets people, what do you put in here? Yep. So yeah, you can see it ran a number of things. So I'll leave that down in case Ducky wants to do more stuff. Oh, some people are trying to get in on the stream. Nope, can't do it. Yeah, so come into Discord, engineerman.org/Discord. That's engineerman.org/Discord if you want to get in on this. And know that contests and challenges are coming soon. And we're going to continue doing cool things. So come to Discord. There's 1,300 people there. Usually about 200 or 300 online at any given moment. Everybody is very nice, very helpful. We got top-notch admins and mods who are keeping watch, and people are very willing to help people out, and it's just a fun place to be. So come on to Discord, and I'm there all the time. So I'll chat with you too. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So be on the lookout. Contest challenges and scores, they're coming soon. I'm working on it all weekend. So we're going to get at it. I've been traveling, but I'm back now, and it's time to get at it. Okay, I think that's pretty much it, unless there's one last question. How often do you stream 100% Python? Let's just say every other stream is going to be 100% Python. How's that? So once a month, I'll do Python, unless I'd start doing more streams. Okay, I think we're all set. All right, thank you so much for coming to the stream. Had a great time. I'm hoping everybody enjoyed the content. It's learning some of the low-level kind of HTTP stuff is fun. It gives you a better understanding on what's happening, kind of underneath the hood. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for that. Thanks for that 20. I really appreciate that. And yeah, come to the Discord and be on the lookout for project review tomorrow morning. And that's it. Come say hi. We're all done. See everybody later.